Hello and welcome back to the Sports Box. This is part two of the detailed Arsenal review that we're going to do. And I'm back with Sudhir and Prasad again. And Prasad, we left off at a very interesting point where you had, you were just summing up your conclusions about Mikel Arteta and how the season ended and how did he do in that short stint. So I would want to ask from you that where do you think that Arteta goes from here and how do you think he ended the season, because you had a lot of good results, because I didn't expect Arsenal to win so many games towards the end of the season. They weren't pretty, to be correct, but to be honest, but there were matches which they were playing against better opponents, so you he gave respect to the opponents, who were better on the ball than them, and he sort of tried to milk the results. And then against the lesser teams, he obviously plays a different brand of football, which is very pragmatic as well, I think, because that is the way you defeat the bigger teams, and you can go on and score 3-4 goals against the smaller one. So how do you sum up Arteta's reign? What do you think that he's done right, that the Arsenal fans are optimistic again? Prasad, are you there?
No, again, a lot. Yeah, I'm here.
Yeah.
I'm here.
Yeah, you can continue.
Uh, a lot of uh, a lot of things new for once. It has to be game by game. It has to be game by game. Yeah, I know. I'm speaking. Yeah. So, ठीक है. Audible?
Fine, it's fine.
Yeah. So like I was saying, when Mikel Arteta came in, and after the horrendous season that we had in the first half, it was very clear that he was going to need time. And firstly, I was ready. My mindset was ready that this was going to be game by game. I could not judge him or want him to implement his brand of football in one day. It's not instant noodles, 2 minutes, and So we wanted to see a style of play with Unai Emery that went missing. The style of play he wasn't clear on that, and with Arteta, it was always crystal clear that he wanted to take the club back to where it belongs, and that started from the first day, communicating with players. You can say a game plan within a game plan. Now, these mistakes at Brighton and Aston Villa, yes, agreed. But I think I would again say we've dealt so much shit in the past. I think I would still overlook. I mean, when Arteta came in, I was just looking to end this season. It was like a pre-season. It was like a pre-season that he was getting. Just end the season. Let's see where we go from here. And even in those games that we won against Liverpool and City, we had a plan. Even when in the FA Cup semi-final, we had a plan. So with Mikel Arteta, now the players know what they want to do, what he expects of them, and what they should be doing. And he's had a plan, and he's not just come here and started attacking. This club believes in attacking football, so let's go out and attack. He's actually done a very good job trying to fix us back from the defense. And there are a few highlights of that. For example, the first goal against City in the FA Cup semi-final, I could give you a lot of them, are that. So if you can get David Luiz, Squadron Mustafi, Granit Xhaka in that system to do so well. I mean, this Arsenal team needed to be coached in terms of defending. And I can see considerable amount of progress. There are still a lot of ifs where I mentioned. If the backing is there and if he gets his players, that is a long run. But I would definitely say that I was very happy Mikel Arteta came in. I mean, I know a lot of people were skeptical. There were names being thrown. Let's get Pochettino because he's experienced and he's taken Spurs to blah, blah, blah.
Of all the people in the world.
Or even people, yeah. There were people there. So we don't have to go back to Inter Milan. We know what mess was made after that 2010 season. They're still trying to win a league, or let's say still trying to get somewhere up. But on the Arteta point, the deadwood, we did that with Mkhitaryan. Mkhitaryan's gone. He's off the wage bill, 11 million of the wage bill. Ozil's going to be phased off. Socrates is going to go. A lot of these players are going to be phased out. Probably, yeah, and probably the wage bill is going to be a much more better thing than it is right now. So it's a process. It's a process. Trust the process. I mean, a club waited 30 years for their first league title, and fans of Arsenal, many of them have not even seen the Invincibles and have come in post, let's say, for those fans who joined in after the FA Cup, or for fans who joined in after that magnificent 2007-8 season. You gotta trust the process, whatever process that is. You just can't go around taking one line from Twitter and milk out and saying, come on, Mikel, why did we lose to Aston Villa? Come on, Mikel, why did we lose to Brighton? You have to get behind the players. You have to get behind the manager. So, like I said, 4 or 5 transfer window, that is a permutation. That is an if, and that is only because, your words can come back to bite you. Arteta's not going to make us title contenders or, just deliver by instant. We will be a 5, 6, 7 place position club maybe for a couple of years, or 1 year, 2 years, and it's going to gradual progress. If that happens early, it's good, we'd love it. But if that takes time, or if it again, whatever happens, you got to deal with it. And that's what it's been. I mean, Mikel Arteta, the only fresh thing is that Mikel Arteta has a plan. Every player knows where they're going, and it's up to the fan base now to just hold on to their horses. I know you do a lot of contribution by sending a couple of million to the board and saying, doing the accounting on why a player should not 350k, or why a player should get 200k, or why you should be re-signed. I would love everyone to hold their horses. Simple as that.
No, I mean, I like Prasad said, I hope Mikel's plan is as set as his hair is, because no one else has good hair like he does. But yeah, again, so I think what obviously Mikel comes in the Arteta comes in with a lot of goodwill. He comes in at a time where all of us are going to support him. Also because we are a bit jaded. We've seen how world football is right now. You have today's transfer news, which is Nathan Ake is going to go to Man City apparently for 42 million and 42 million. And you look at that and you're like, we just bought a Tierney for 25 million. How are we going to compete with these people and these budgets? So these things exist. But I think, like I said, Arsenal don't have unreal expectations right away. We are patient. As long as it's positive football, as long as there's some positive direction that we're going in, I think we'll all be behind Mikel, hopefully for a fairly long time. And that is also rewarded in terms of decent league finishes, in terms of a couple of trophies. We can only hope starting from this weekend itself. But yeah, I think trying to use the personnel that we have and then recruiting the right personnel, not just superstars for the sake of it. Like, no one expects Marco Reus to come in right now just because, bada name player chahiye. But
abductor injury.
Oh yeah, he has he's like hashtag Arsenal DNA. But
I love Ruiz, but not another injury-prone player, or maybe and especially when you have people, when the front line is pretty new, you have these young talents that are there out there. Since it is a transition, and let's suppose say the sale is 50 million or so, I think what Sudhir rightly pointed out in the first part is get in a CB. Get in that physical presence, and I don't know what's going on with Emil Smith Rowe. He's had a good season at Huddersfield, but Emil Smith Rowe is currently being touted as that number 10 replacement, but he's still raw. You don't expect very raw. Yeah, he's very raw. So there comes Sudhir. There comes the Philippe Coutinho's. If I'm not wrong, what have you made of that? I mean, I haven't had time to go through that, but. Philip,
before you start, I was looking forward to this segment. So I want each of you, as we're discussing this, because we're, moving in tangents, I'm going to ask each of you 3 realistic players that you want Arsenal. They have been either linked with or, realistic. I mean, you're obviously not going to say a Messi or a Marcus Rashford, anyone who is, beyond belief or at a price that probably Arsenal will not be able to afford. There are positions that you've spoken about. So either you give me the name of a player or a kind of a player that you would want, say as a centre back, what kind of a centre back, in what range are you looking at? And how would you, as a fan, I know it's hypothetical and obviously it's not going to happen that way, but I'm sure you guys have been reading about the transfer rumors, the players that you've been linked with. So give me 3 players, because I think that getting in 6 players in a window can be very tricky. We've seen what happened with
I don't think it's going to work out.
if you're looking for a steady build up, where you rebuild like probably a Liverpool did, where they bought in like 3 players on an average every season, and eventually they had this one big window where they had like 5 players in the span of 2 windows, and they really sort of went for it there. But to build a base at Arsenal, 3 players from each of you, starting with you, Sudhir, 3 realistic players that Arsenal could sign, and then Prasad will come to you on the same point.
So I think Partey is a fairly honest target. I think his price tag is good enough. His age profile is good enough. He's also the sort of player who I think mentality and what we've seen in games, including with against Arsenal during the Europa games and such. He's a realistic player. Partey midfield, fairly defensive, fairly able to rotate the ball forward. So that will be nice. Saliba is already bought, so I'm very excited from whatever I've seen about him, read about him. The compilation obviously looks fantastic, but he seems like a really good player. Saliba, may be another centre back, because I don't really trust David Luiz. Honestly, as nice as he's been, Mustafi again, he's had a renaissance, but maybe we can have an upgrade on a Mustafi as well. So I'm assuming one centre back. I'm running short of names right now, but Saliba, I think I'm very excited for. A question which I have and I don't have an answer for is, we want a mobile number 10 or a creator. That gap between Xhaka, Partey and the front line of Pepe, Lacazette and Aubameyang. There is a huge gap there. Arsenal have traditionally had very elegant creators, either and this is in decades, I'm saying, not just in the recent contemporary history. But for the life of me right now, I don't know who I can target, or you can even imagine saying, oh, this guy will look good in an Arsenal shirt. The only answer I honestly think of is, if we saw sort of weird rumors going around in Italy saying Ramsey is a bit too expensive, Ramsey is not being effectively deployed, maybe he's not the right fit for Sarri ball or whatever. So this is an outlandish requirement, maybe, that somehow we get him back, because he's a nice mobile number 10. I'm very sure Arteta will be able to utilize him much better than Emery did, for that matter at all. And Ozil seems out of it right now. A fit Ozil would actually be brilliant. I don't know if a fit Ozil comes back. 1 good year out of Ozil in this setup will still be a huge thing, but I don't think that's going to happen. So yeah, a Partey, a Saliba, and a good number 10, but I don't know who that is.
Fair enough.
36-year-old Santi Cazorla is honestly a much better prospect right now, because I can't think of other people who can come in, play nice football, be elegant, carry the load, be responsible.
And not cost 100 million after that, because
correct.
Because I think you have to pay for players of that caliber in the current market, and which is not what Arsenal should start with. They should look at building a certain level of players and then progress to the next stage. Even I think, yeah, you're saying something?
So there's like one shady dream which I have, is that Eriksen is out of favor in Tottenham. And he's, again, I think he's going to go to I'm not sure where he's going. Again, Juventus and a free agent. It's like a match made in heaven. So there's a very high chance he goes there. If he goes there, Ramsey becomes dispensable. Again, pipe dream. But if we somehow manage to get an Eriksen in this setup, I think it'll be brilliant. It'll be controversial. It'll be wild. It'll be fun. It'll be pacey. He's a really good number 10, pacey number 10. Not a number 10 in the traditional sense, a very good creator. I think that'll be brilliant. But yeah, I mean, the chances of that happening are
but it could happen. It's not it's just not a dream. You're not trying to get in Messi there. You're getting a player who is probably played at a club which is smaller, like a Tottenham. But obviously they've done better over the past few seasons. But yeah, it's a realistic buy. And now coming to you, Prasad, what do you think? I mean, do you agree with the departments that need strengthening as per Sudhir, or do you have
Yeah.
a different?
Yeah. Currently, and to add to Sudhir, like he said, that space, we need to address that space and get in a hybrid player, not just a 10, but a number 8. Like who can play someone like a Bruno who can do that work. But coming back to let's start off one by one. I think Martinez and Leno, we are sorted there, so that department is a check. Then you have Squadron Mustafi. You have Squadron Mustafi is injured. Chambers is injured. And who else is injured, Sudhir? One more guy is injured, if I'm not wrong. There are
Socrates. We have Socrates who's injured. We have I mean that's what Socrates is injured.
I
don't think Socrates is injured, to be honest. I think he's just out of form and out of favor. But yeah, he's available.
Yeah. So Holding and Saliba are Holding, Saliba, Tierney, and Bellerin are the back four that's all.
We have Pablo Mari. Oh, we completely forgot. That's what you were asking about.
Yeah.
We signed Pablo Mari, and I think
Pablo Mari is injured. Correct,
I think Pablo Mari never got injured before he came to Arsenal, and now he's injured. So that's like he's like born for the Arsenal. We have Suarez, who's I think a backup.
Coming back to the part, Pablo Mari is someone Arteta wanted. I mean, a left-footed ball playing centre back, and unfortunately during that City game, both him and Xhaka went out. So coming back to the original point, I think Dayot Upamecano was linked to Arsenal, but we don't know how realistic that is, because the thing that we've re-signed Luis for a year, and we've signed Pablo Mari, we've signed Cedric Soares, who's also not going to be a long-term solution. But yeah, we've had these players, and they are right now on the sideline. So we're currently dealing with Rob Holding, and Saliba was going to come in, and we have David Luiz. So yeah, a centre back is necessary, but I think that will happen throughout the next season. And the biggest worry, I think, would be to sign a physical presence, because I think Matteo Guendouzi is also out of favor, and someone like a Torreira is not a fit. You have to play 38 to 40 games. If Europe is included, let's say we have 50-55 games. So a physical presence, like Sudhir said, Thomas Partey. And I think there should be an emphasis on getting Ceballos' loan extended, because he kind of fits the bill here, and he's got that camaraderie with Arteta, and he's got that partnership with Xhaka that's blooming. They're necessary when Unai Emery always wanted to go with a 4-3-3, 4-3-3. Mikel Arteta loves tinkering. I mean, and tinkering with a plan, not just without a plan. Tinkering with a plan. I mean, we're playing 4-3-3 on paper, then we shift to 3-4-3 and 4-4-2 and 3-4-1-2, 3-4-2-1, something like that. So re-sign Dani Ceballos, and then I think Partey is linked. I don't know how true that is. It's going to go up and down until Atletico, we see a clear picture of where Atletico land in the Champions League. And then, as Sudhir said, Mesut Ozil is gone. I don't expect him to come back from whatever he's having. I expected his contract to run out in Jan, but now I read that it's going to go along the summer of 2021, which is going to be a long one more year for English media to get their views and retweets and likes and everything high. Milk that 350k a week story without being accountants. So a number 10 or a number 8 should be here. Gelson Fernandes was linked for that matter, a left winger. So I'm not sure how we could be going there, because I think if it is a transition process, and if we have the likes of Reece Nelson and all these young players like Martinez.
Saka again.
Bukayo Saka.
They're league ready. They're not. Saka is the creator. He's given the number 7 jersey for that matter. So obviously it's a huge matter of prestige. But I don't think he's league ready yet. I hope he proves me wrong. But again, so Ceballos is nice, but he's like he just shades below the levels that we may want to be. So yeah, we have people. It's just that I don't think they're going to take us where we want to be. And we sort of need one player who can, one catalyst. I'm not sure who that is, but it's just a very confusing situation for me, honestly. So yeah.
honestly, man, I'm not sure about Philippe Coutinho. If he comes, how he fits in. If he comes in and he, because one thing I'm pretty sure of is Mikel Arteta knows what he wants. So the communication is pretty clear. And with Josh Kroenke coming, being in the picture now, because Stan is always missing. But not to take it there, but Josh Kroenke is there. He's told, Arteta's told him whatever he wants. Arteta's staff is clear. Everyone's clear there. And it's just a matter of time, I would say. I mean, it's been so exhausting to follow the Arsenal before, during Unai Emery, that everything right now feels like, let's take it game by game. Okay, this is happening. Okay, whatever's supposed to happen is going to happen. And you cannot just, dig in. And I think Sudhir would agree with me that time I think I had stopped those midnight games. I completely had stopped watching midnight games. For example, the Brighton home game, where Freddie Ljungberg was even there, but we were failing to shut out games. So I had stopped watching them. So yeah, Prithvi, to keep it to the point, a centre back, a physical presence in the midfield. I mean, re-signing someone like Dani Ceballos if we can't get anyone, because if we can't get anyone, if we let go of Dani Ceballos, that is a loss. And to add to another thing, the hybrid 8 and 10 players. So I think four players would do the job, but it's still a long process. You never know.
So I think one small point which I would like to just extend what Prasad just said is the Liverpool win and the Man City win that we had. I honestly don't think the Liverpool win should count, because Liverpool have won the league. I know they're chasing their 100-point. They were chasing their 100-point target and all that, but the Liverpool win was nice. Arsenal always have this habit of pulling off a really fancy result when the world is not expecting them to. It's like when we went to Bayern away and then won the game, but we lost because the away goals rule at home. So we do this regularly. That's one of the hallmarks of an Arsenal season. That's the problem. That fatigue that has set in, that exhaustion which has set in. You see players not. You see the goals that we concede. Kolasinac with the back pass and David Luiz with his brain farts, or the penalty challenges that are making. So it's sad that this is still happening. We can just hope that this reduces massively, because that alone will give us a lot of points. We don't even need a Messi to get 10 points more in the league. We just need to cut out these basic mistakes which we've been doing season after season. But
Prithvi, and Sudhir and Prithvi, to add to our next topic that we are doing, and we've come at such a good juncture in this episode. A lot also depends on what's going to happen this weekend. I mean, if we win this weekend, that will be an entry into Europa League. So if a European competition gives you 40 million, so that's like every one of us glaring at that 40 million. Now you have that 40 million. Now show us what you want to do.
Wait, no, the Europa gives us like 10 million. Europe gives you 40 million.
It's 30, 20 to 30. I think it's not 40.
But I think if you win the whole thing,
add-ons. I read about the TV rights and so. I read about the TV rights and stuff and etc. From a lot of things. But the perspective is where we are going to is that the season might have ended. We never thought. I mean, as a fan, we've always been there amongst the top four, and in the last few years of Wenger, we went to 5 and 6, and then
this is just horrendous.
This season's been 8. So in December, I was just get this season over with wherever we finish. I mean, I just want this to be known as Mikel Arteta's pre-season. He got to know his existing players. He got to know the flaws, and there are cracks, and now how he's going to fill up those cracks.
Correct. So, Prasad, I can resonate with what you're saying right now, because I remember Chelsea had that horrendous season where we finished 10th, and I was just like, on every game hoping that probably we'll turn up today, and it used to end up in utter misery. So I can understand where you're coming from, and I know that in such a season you just want the season to end. The best memory I have of that season is that 2-2 draw against Tottenham, where they thought they had a shout for a league, and they eventually lost those points. That eventually ended up into a brawl more than a match, and I remember that was a crazy game. But coming back to the FA Cup final, because that is something which even I have a little bit of stake in. And Chelsea, if I look at it, in the last 3 years, Chelsea won 3 trophies, and this would be the fourth year we're looking for one. But obviously, the intensity that Arsenal have, because for a club like Arsenal, European football is very important. Be it the Euro, preferably the Champions League. That's what they've been
Obviously.
in and around for the past few years. But if you look at the past couple of years, probably they haven't been able to make it to the Champions League. So
Even justify a Europa spot for that matter.
yeah, because I
I
think
think
very important, and I cannot stress the importance, because if Chelsea don't win that game, they probably don't win a trophy. But if Arsenal don't win a game, the additional revenue, the chance to qualify into the Champions League through the Europa League next year, because we know that Europa
direct
League is
backdoor entry.
difficult tournaments to win, and Arsenal, even with a few additions here and there, could challenge for that and enter into the top four, because top four is going to be tough next season. You look at the kind of money United and Chelsea are going to spend this season. City is spending again. Liverpool might, strengthen in a couple of areas. So it's going to be very difficult to dislodge
So
these.
I just stop you right here. Unfortunately, we have to look at Burnley, Sheffield, and Wolves right now. That's where we are at. Unfortunately, Liverpool, Man City are phenomenal clubs. They're really far away. Chelsea United somehow crawled into the top four. We were joking about Man United relegation battle when this season started. That's how old the season is. There are infographics where at Norwich, Man United, Bournemouth in a relegation dogfight, and now they finished at this really respectable position. So my problem is you have to respect these clubs. You can only hope that Sheffield, Burnley sort of drop off in performance and we sort of sneak in that position. But honestly, I think so with Chelsea, when you had that bad season and then you had no Europe at all, only the league to focus in, you won the league next season. So that was a positive. My problem right now is, given the history of the Arsenal and the mentality of players that we've usually been associated with, I don't think we're going to win the league season if we don't win even not in Europe come September. So that's a question mark. But
So let's just get to the point. And how do you think the FA Cup final is going to pan out? What do you think Arteta is going to play? Both of you, what do you think the way they're going to line up? Because they've done good against better. I mean, I won't say Chelsea is a supremely better team than Arsenal, but yeah, in a lot of
I
positions.
think you're calmer and much more sorted than we are.
And we have probably, because we have a set of experienced players in the academy players, some of them have settled in really well. And the likes of Giroud and Pulisic have also, been very important since the restart. So even Giroud is scoring goals every match, which I find is, I rate him a lot as a centre forward, in the way he adds.
Is his loan going to end soon and he's going to come back to Arsenal, Prasad? Isn't that what's happening?
No, I'm not really concerned about what go on, and let bygones be bygones. And he is always a very good plan B. For that, say the plan A was never in place when he was at Arsenal, and he gets a lot, which is justified. But he was always a plan B. Even with Didier Deschamps, he was a plan B, and he even though he didn't assist, though he didn't score,
but he was fantastic.
Work with his physical presence up there. So yeah, top points, 10 out of 10 for being the physical presence up ahead. But yeah, this is like a mirror image, or this is like taking me back to 2017, Chelsea winning the league and Arsenal in sort of that slump, having missed out on the Champions League, and Mertesacker playing in the defense, and then that the best performance Mertesacker delivered in an Arsenal shirt was that game against Chelsea, and that will always be remembered because everyone was making fun of him. So this is a cup game. Mikel Arteta is very good with his whatever plan that he comes up, and you could see that he identified the Mahrez threat and he deployed Maitland-Niles there just to cancel out that, and then Foden comes in, and so we know that Mikel Arteta will have a plan, and the way, if the players can execute that plan as they did against City, then it's a win-win. But yeah, but again, like Prithvi, Chelsea are pretty much settled. But again, I still feel that it's still going to be an open game.
Yeah, it's
I think the only advantage
optimistic going into it, because Arsenal has too much to play in for. Obviously, the Baku game
Exactly.
went the way it did. I have, you don't know what happened there. Probably the atmosphere. There could be 10 other things, but I think that this time out it is closer because I've seen how Arsenal have played against the likes of the Liverpool and a Man City. So I think even Lampard is going to be a little balanced and he's going to play three at the back, because if he commit too many men forward, I'm pretty sure that this Arteta team is going to hurt Chelsea, because they were very clinical in both the games. I think they uh, had like 4 goals out of probably 7 or 8 shots in 2 games.
Shots on target. Yeah.
A crazy conversion rate.
So
So
I think what happens with Chelsea is we can only hope that Chelsea's euphoria of getting into Europe after last week's win, that sort of takes the edge of their ambition. Again, I know it's a very terrible thing to say, but your lack of sort of investment in this game now is probably something that we can build on, because if we lose this game, at the risk, we already have a terrible season, the worst season we've had in ages. It goes in a very bad territory with a loss in the FA Cup. So salvaging, I don't want to be overly dramatic, but we cannot salvage the season enough, even with a trophy. But that's the least we can do. So I hope we do that. I hope that hunger remains. There may be a couple of players who may be departing, so it could be one of their final goodbyes. So I hope they turn up and contribute to one last game. We can only hope that a nice David Luiz turns up and not the other David Luiz, and he doesn't do what he's famous for. And Martinez does a decent job. Xhaka doesn't lose his cool. Aubameyang is clinical. I mean, again, like I said, so that could factor in. It seems like we are more desperate to win, whereas Chelsea will be like, oh, we'll feel bad, but it's not the end of the world for Chelsea if they don't win. But yeah, I know how apologist it sounds. I know how terrible it sounds, but I think that's the angle which we can exploit at this moment. And I think I hope, I'm genuinely thinking that we'll have a smart move. Maybe Saka masterclass. Again, this is a random prediction. Maybe Saka and Nelson, Maitland-Niles and Nelson. They sort of, one of them is going to be the hero in my opinion. I think we'll win the final, but there's a nagging feeling that we could just make a brain fart and lose.
Or Olivier Giroud could net the winner.
Oh yeah, he could. I mean, he's Mr. FA Cup. He's literally modern day Mr. FA Cup, and I hope he's fine.
Whichever team has Giroud, they win. they eventually end up winning. So that's how it is. Prasad, your thoughts on the game? How do you think it's going to pan out?
No, I think he's going to stick to 3-4-3 ideally, because David Luiz is better suited to that 3 at the back, and Emiliano Martinez has been wonderful. So Mustafi, Luiz, and for that, say, I think Tierney, like we did against Liverpool. And
Mustafi is out of the final, unfortunately. He was in decent form, and now he's out till October last. So now we'll be stuck with, not stuck with, but it'll be Rob Holding, Tierney, and David Luiz.
David Luiz, yeah. So Mustafi is gone, correct. So Mustafi is gone. So we have Rob Holding, Luiz, and Tierney, and then you have Maitland-Niles, Xhaka, Ceballos, and I think Pepe would be brought up as probably a substitute, but I think he'd deploy a Cedric Soares or a Bellerin to those wing backs, and so he could make it 5 at the back at once, and then those full wing backs can go forward, and then you have the likes of Lacazette and Aubameyang there, along with Bukayo Saka. So to give the front players the width, to drift in. So yeah, and we've seen Xhaka deployed at left back, left wing. We've also seen him go in the right wing and come inside in the Bulls game, Sudhir. So I think 3-4-3 is going to be the way forward. I still feel that Nicolas Pepe should be brought on from the bench for all sorts of tactical reasons. And this has to be an Arsenal win, because you know what is at stake. I mean, there's a stake there's a place in Europa League at stakes, and that is clearly for a club that follows a self-sustaining model per se.
Exactly.
A very important result that's going to pan out if we win.
And I know it sounds very
to add one more point. Yeah, just to add one more point. I mean, have been for the past, let's say, since the 4 or 5 seasons, I have stopped predicting. I mean, you'd never know what might happen. Let's say since Unai Emery came in, and since we went on that 21 game unbeaten streak, and post that, it all went downhill or somewhere, I've stopped predicting. But I know that there's going to be a lot of water with me. I'm going to be tensed, and there are going to be a lot of breaks, even though the players have a couple of breaks right now. That's totally me for the last 6 months, man. I mean, what's going to happen? Year on cam, I might say that it's one game at a time, but every time your club plays, you want the club to do well, and that tension sort of kicks in.
Definitely.
So yeah, it has to be an Arsenal win, Prithvi. It has to be. Saying it will, it has to be. It has to be.
That bottle reminds me, and I know we can't really be cocky right now, but the worst Arsenal season in decades could still finish with a trophy, whereas Spurs are, empty-handed. So, I mean, again, I understand Spurs are doing a great job, and they've been finishing above us. But yeah, a trophy in this season would be fantastic. So obviously that's something that I would really want to do.
And you have an Amazon Prime. You have an Amazon Prime documentary
coming in. Yeah.
DVD.
Because I think there's so much drama on at Tottenham this season.
I think Prithvi, I think Antonio Conte deserves a DVD for the way he came in London, and after that. Loss to Arsenal completely changed the dynamic of the team, and went on that very unbeaten run and won the title.
The wrong set of London players were motivated by
So on the DVD point, I'm pretty much if I have to play frisbee with a dog down there, or clear off some dirt. If I get that for free, I'm going to use that DVD. But to stick to
you made a lot to stick for Arsenal, so I think I should make a couple of points with Chelsea as well, because I know that the intensity at which we need the trophy is not as much as it probably would have been had we not reached top 4. You have that fight, but I think Frank Lampard has been one of the most successful players in the FA Cup. In the FA Cup, I don't remember a player winning so many FA Cups as much as Frank Lampard, because we used to win it a lot, and he, probably was a part of almost all of our FA Cup wins. So I think...
there was another Arsenal player who won FA Cups with you, Ashley Cole. He won many years, then he went to Chelsea, he kept winning there. Now, Giroud glorious tradition.
They'll again, going to match. They're going to match Arsenal with the 3-4-3. I can expect Zuma, Rudiger, Azpilicueta, Reece James at right wing back, who I've been really impressed with. Alonso again, we're making do with him as left wing back. He's not a bad left wing back. Then Conte. Is
Willian available?
He's available, most probably, but Conte is fit for this match, which could be really big for Chelsea. I think he's one player why we did spiral off towards the end of this season, but I think he will be one of the most important additions. And then again, Giroud, Pulisic, Willian, Mount, these players are going to... Kovacic has been one of our best players this season, because he's very good at beating the press. He's very good at keeping the ball. He's a very efficient dribbler for that matter. So
I think Jorginho sort of faded out, but Kovacic has taken his place. So, yeah, that's a good thing for you guys.
Because Jorginho is a brilliant player, but he's a very limited player. He can only play in a particular system. Kovacic has more flair. He has more versatility to his game. He can put in a tackle when needed. So I think it's going to be a very interesting game. And once again, thank you so much, guys, for joining me. We had like a lovely discussion, and we'll be hoping that our respective teams win the final FA Cup. And let's see what happens. And either ways, I would wish best of luck to Arsenal. Let's see. May the better team win. At the end of the day, that's what you want. You want a good game of football. And that's it. So thank you guys for watching this video. If you like the video, please click on the like button. And please subscribe to the channel. And thank you so much, guys. We'll just sign off right now. Thank you so much, Prasad. Thank you so much, Sudhir. It was a pleasure talking to you. And we're looking forward to have you again on the show.
Thank you very much, Prithvi.
Thank you.